Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
From the Steel Valley Soccer Studios in Boardman with Tim Walsh, Dan Conley, and Chris Platten. This is Pitchmen.
All right. Episode 3. We're in March of 2023. And finally, Boardman has picked a boys coach. They got Zach Stamp from South Range. He was originally a head coach at Girard. Then he went to South Range, and now he's back home where he was a player about, 15 years ago?
Not quite that long, but, that means South Range is now on the clock.
Yeah. This is like a round-robin draft to see who's going to get the last person coaching soccer in the Youngstown area.
Yeah, for this one, I have no idea who's going to take or want that. Not that it's a bad job to have. I'm just trying to think out loud, in my head who's left.
A lot of the coaches who are, experienced are already coaching somewhere. So
other ones that are good candidates just don't have the time anymore,
or have flipped the table. So both of those job positions are open. The girls and the boys. I believe the girls coach is out from a pregnancy, and Stamp is back at Boardman now. So they will be looking for a coach. Next up, we're gonna do something different here at Steel Valley Soccer. We're going to play a game. Dan, are you ready for it?
As I ever was.
I'm going to ask you some questions, and we're going to play some music, and you have until the end of the music to try to get 10 questions correct.
Got it.
Chris, can you help us count?
I was born for this.
Chris is still on MacBids. Can we get MacBids to sponsor us? For the amount of stuff that we buy at their place, can we please get them to sponsor us?
Shut up.
All right. Dan, are you ready?
Yep.
All right. What does SOI stand for?
Sons of Italy.
What does SVA stand for?
Steel Valley Academy. Soccer Vision Academy.
Oh, for 2. No, 1 for 2. What does MVP stand for?
Corning Valley Premier.
What does TCSC stand for?
Tri-County Soccer Club.
Okay, where are we at? 3?
3 out of 4.
Okay, where did Club Phoenix call home?
Valley Sports.
That's a good one. That's 4. Where did Team Metro call home?
Trumbull County. I don't know the facility, though.
Be the Niles Wellness Center.
Okay.
Where did Simon FC come from?
Bud's Place.
I don't know if that's right or not. I should have done the answer when I said it.
I was thinking Bud Simon. I could have been Simon from Mooney. I don't know.
I think it might have been Valley.
Okay.
I think it was the precursor, or maybe even after Phoenix. So the reason we had that little game there, how many to get? 4. Was that a minute?
Was that a minute?
That seemed rushed.
That was a fast minute.
Yeah.
All right, it was half a minute. So you got 4. So somehow you lose. I don't know. That was the name of the game. But looking at some of the old club teams. Now, a lot of people online have talked about, can you cover club too as much as you cover high school soccer? And no, we can't. We don't have the time for that, but we would like to. But let's talk about some of the ones in the past. We talked last episode about some of the famous players from the past, and let's talk about them. Dan, who did you play for when you played?
I played for MVP. Neil Fowler was the head of that then. It was either SOI or MVP when I played on the boys' side.
Yeah, I believe just before you, when I was there, it was SOI, MVP, or Olympic. Olympic was out of what's that park in Struthers?
Was it Roosevelt Park in?
Was it Roosevelt?
Gamble.
What was the one just up the hill? They used to play. It's a baseball field, but they made it in the soccer. And if you missed going towards the hill and the ball rolled, it would roll forever, like almost into the Mahoning River.
I think we're talking about the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
But so you had SOI, MVP. SOI has been long storied. It was George DeChef towards the end of it. RIP to Mr. DeChef. But those were your 3. Out of those, we had a lot more, didn't we, Dan?
Yeah. it kind of spawned off. Right now we have 3 main in the area, but I remember growing up. There was Phoenix was a team that kind of got put together. Buckeye was a team when I was younger that was involved. That was kind of a mixture between, I want to say Campfield and Mooney kids, or I remember playing them at Bud's place when I was growing up.
Yeah. Oh, and while we do this, let's talk about some of these places that they play. So now, how many indoor places do we have? Chris, do you know?
3.
All right. So we have Niles Wellness Center,
Farmer Jim's,
Salem, and the Tri-County Soccer Complex over on, was that Logan Way in Liberty?
According to my fingers, that makes 4.
So, I couldn't help myself. I'm sorry. So we have 4 right now, but we had a couple more years ago. Bud's Place, which you had just mentioned, they were off or on Mahoning Avenue, just in the back. It was a 1 field with walled facility.
Yeah, 1 field had 1 heater in it, and if you're playing goalie, half the game you're freezing, the other half you're sweating. That was about 2 minutes from my house. I had a lot of good memories there.
Yeah, that's where when I played SY, that's where we would practice once or twice a week, and it had a leaky roof. Like you said, it was cold. It wasn't in the best shape when we got to it, but I'm sure it was much, much better back years before.
Oh yeah, but it had like a certain vibe to it. It was, you didn't go there because it was the best place in town. It was fun. It was cozy. Everyone got to see it. Everyone sat on one side above the field. There was no it wasn't level with the field or anything like that. So
yeah, you had like a little loft up there where you would get ready in the 3 feet of space you can have. The other one was Valley Sports, which was almost a complete opposite. Valley Sports was 2 fields at its height. It had plexiglass clear along the sides. It had seats in the middle that were up above. They had seats below. I want to say it was a cafe there. It was a really nice facility.
It also had some of the most rough turf when they first opened up. I still have scars on my legs from that place. And for some reason, the height of the doors, maybe just me, but when you were getting subbed in and out, I always clipped those darn doors in and
for
out.
some reason, they were just like an extra inch higher than everywhere else, and you were just going to fall over top of them. But the turf there, when it first was there, was bad. Then they were the first place around that had that new turf that with the rubber pellets.
Yep.
I remember that was the first time I saw it.
First time our parents got to complain about having little rubber pellets in their house.
Oh, God. I get them now, like in the wash. They're everywhere.
Yeah, my dad used to have me hold my shoes outside of the car on the way home just to try to get all the pellets out.
But there was one even before all of these. So I want to say Bud's Place might have been one of the first, if not Farmer Jim's. And Farmer Jim's has 2 fields. I think it started off with 1 and had an extension put on.
Yeah, Farmer Jim's has been there. I know they had a pool and stuff like that way back in the day.
In like the 70s and early 80s. But if you wanted to play indoor soccer and you were from our area, the closest place was Hudson.
Yep.
And Hudson has, 5 fields now indoor?
Could be.
It could be. I want to say at least 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And I could have swore 5, but they have that. They have outdoor for the summer leagues for high school teams. But all of these places had all these teams. So we're looking at SOI, MVP, Olympic, Phoenix, Buckeye, Metro, which was, I want to say, like a lot of Niles players came out of that program.
There's also a club named NOS that was also
Yeah,
around that same time.
I remember that.
I don't remember what that stood for, though.
Niles something. That's my guess. Chris? No. All right. So you got Evolution, TCSC, SVA, TC United was one. They had Rockers.
Yep.
You had mentioned earlier. And
Girls only club there.
Was it?
Yeah, Rockers.
I didn't know that.
They're green.
Who was in charge of that? Yeah.
I wasn't a girl, so I don't know.
Not anymore, at least. We were talking about how all these places came about because there is a very big demand for soccer in the winter around us.
Yeah, and in order to grow soccer in the area, you must have it as often as you can. So it needs to be a all year round activity. And like you said, we only had Bud's Place, we only had Valley Sports for a while. But if you wanted to play the best teams in the area, outside of the area, it was always Hudson. Mm-hmm. So they added those other facilities on. They were nice too, and they came in.
Yeah, but talking about all these places, I can smell each of these places. They had a distinct smell of like sweat and grossness and probably mold.
Yeah, Bud's Place had a nice black lung smell to it when you were in there.
So this brings me to my next question. I've seen it on social media. I've seen it on Twitter. They talk about club players getting more playing time than players who don't play club at high school. And it's always like, well, if you don't play club, you're not going to play for for this team. Do you see that happening? And is that the reason being because of it? Because they play club? Or is it because they're the better player and that's why?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think the more you play, the more reps you get, the better you get. And club, typically the better players go to club. And it's not just the games in there. It's the training. If you're training with the best players in the area, it's going to automatically make you better. No matter how much you play in a game, it can't hurt you. I'll say that.
Oh, absolutely. It's money, it's time, it's commitment. And if you have those three and you want to do that year round, and you could say that about any sport or any activity. If you're, you play the piano, if you go to a private person and pay per month, you're going to get better if you do that year round.
Right. And it's not even just club soccer. If you're a multi-sport player, doing something is the best thing for it. Playing basketball in the off season, wrestling, stuff like that. It only helps you. Mm-hmm. Just because you're not playing soccer maybe year round doesn't mean you're doing worse than other people.
So do you think that coaches take into account like this player plays club, so they're automatically in? Or do you, like we had mentioned before, they're going to be the better player because they play club?
There's, again, two answers to that. Just thinking about it as a former coach, if I hear a kid is playing club for a certain club, I'm automatically going to think maybe he's might be pretty good, I would say. Doesn't mean he's going to make the team, but I'm going to look at him first. I'm going to give him that chance right off the bat. The benefit of the doubt off the bat, I would say, if he's playing for like a prestigious club.
Because if you just look at it and you say, this player's playing club, even without knowing anything about the person, they're committed.
Yep.
Because it takes money and time. So automatically they have a little bit of an edge. I think even if you don't know what the other person does, it's like this person plays club, this person doesn't. Okay, this person probably gets a little bit edge if it's close. I'm trying to think of players who played multiple sports. What was the kid
Brandon
from
Youngs from South
I
Range?
just was going to say him. I was about to say, who's the kid from South Range? Yeah, I don't think he played club.
I don't know. I know he played multiple sports. I don't know about club. Jack Kenny from Howland plays baseball.
Yeah, so I'm sure that during baseball season, he doesn't get a lot of soccer in.
Right.
But these are very good players.
Yeah, you might lose your touch, but if you're an athletic person, it comes right back to you.
Yeah. Which brings me to my next question. So we see in basketball and in soccer, you could tell who's a talented player right off the bat and who's not. Because there's a lot of skill that's involved that, like, if you play football, you could not have a lot of skill with the ball, but 90% of the players on the field don't touch the ball.
Yeah, offensive lineman.
Yeah, I always would make a joke to a guy, if you're touching the ball, something bad is going on with your team. Would you rather have someone who is skilled and not necessarily athletic, or someone who is athletic and not necessarily skilled?
What's the work ethic? That's the make or break right there. They're even in my eyes.
Let's say they're even in work ethic. They both work hard. They both are trying their best.
It would depend on the position they're playing. But if they're high school soccer, I think athletic ability wins out.
I agree. And I was going to say, I've had players who have been very skilled but weren't very athletic, and you're like, they're just not getting it done because someone who's fast and who can, have that lateral movement, they can get around them.
Yeah, it's the system you also put them in, the position they play, stuff like that.
True. There's a John Dunn was I don't know if they called him a sweeper or just a center defender.
He was a sweeper.
Did not have a lot of ball skills, but he was district player of the year because he was unbelievably athletic and fast, and nothing got past him.
Right.
But that's because of the position he played. He was a defender. You put him at midfield, you put him at forward, it might not have been that same thing.
Yeah, the ball hits his foot, he would be like, where's this thing go? Yeah. He just gives it the old Das Boot.
Das Boot.
I want to ask the listeners of this podcast, what was the tradition at your school? So email us, steelvalleysvs@gmail.com, because everywhere you go, they have certain traditions that they do, whether it be a team night on like Thursday nights where the team all gets together and they go eat dinner, or if you have certain drills that you do during the summer. I know at Fitch, we had Thompson's named after Coach Thompson, where there's a kind of a zigzag figure eight around the around the field, which I remember both of you guys love those drills, right?
Everyone does. I love watching other people do it now.
Chris, you loved running those, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think my favorite tradition at Fitch didn't come as a player. It came as a coach, and there's another coach that would like to throw inanimate objects.
Okay. So, But at Ursuline, we had the corn roast where all the fall sports would get together and they'd have a big dinner for everybody and introduce the teams.
Corn roast?
Yeah, it was a corn roast. They roasted. It was at the Maronite Center.
Okay.
And
Not making fun of it.
that's just not something you see every day.
Right.
You'd think somewhere else. But I'm sure there's traditions that people have. They ring, I want to say Salem rings a victory bell when they win. But what traditions do you have at your school for your program that isn't maybe school-wide? It might just be specific to your soccer program. I'd like to know. So if you're listening, email us, let us know. We'll mention it on our next show coming up. All right, we'd like to take some time right now to thank our sponsors from last year, just all at once. We have some that we're going to rattle off here that were bronze members. Those are the Allstate Insurance by Robert Fusco, Packer Thomas, Certified Public Accountants, Bodine Perry, Public Accountants, and Albico Foundry. Silver level were Armstrong Cable, and that's it. Let me try that again. Silver level was Armstrong Cable. We had some donors that helped us out with certain events that we were doing. It's Meyer Stores, Facilo Catering, Lally Pipe and Tube, and Courtyard by Marriott from Canfield. Chula Restaurants, Cornersburg Nutrition, and Pure Oz Sports Authority. Those are all of our people who helped us do what we do last year. T-shirts, swag, some of the equipment, obviously, that we're using right now. All of those people can be thanked for that. But this year, we have a new round and a new setup for some people. We have our bronze level sponsors. Let me try that again. Bronze level sponsors. Allstate Insurance by Robert Fusco, Packer Thomas Certified Public Accountants, Bodine Perry Public Accountants. Silver, we have Armstrong Cable, and we have 2 new gold members, North Jackson Hydraulics and Baird Brothers. So thank you to all of those people helping out for this new year coming up. Some other events that we're going to try to do. The College ID Camp is a go. We're getting a date. It's looking like June 17th. And we're going to start getting information out to you high school coaches and players so we can start to register you. We have some Division III and Division II coaches looking to hear back from a couple Division I coaches that will probably be there. Another event that we're looking forward to right before the season is to have a picture day or a media day where we will be somewhere close by with a professional photographer and come in and take headshots and take pictures of you in your uniform. So we can have these for graphics that we're going to do throughout the year. So if a team from Boardman plays a team from Canfield, we have a picture of one player from each of their teams so we can make it a little bit cooler on social media. So we're going to talk today about the record holders for our area teams. Now there's individual records like goals, assists, saves. I think that's the only 3 that we keep in the game of soccer. Then there's team records, goals in a season, goals let in, goals averages, yada, yada. But we're going to take a look at the individual awards first. So first, just so that we're all on the same page, everyone knows what a goal is. Everyone knows who scores the goal, except when it's an own goal. Dan, can you tell us a little bit about how an own goal is scored different than a regular goal?
You mean how it happens or how it's scored?
Well, what would make it an own goal and not a goal?
A shot towards the goal or a not shot on goal that is deflected and then peers towards the goal. So it was not going to hit the frame.
Mm-hmm.
It was a shot, deflected, then hits the frame.
Correct. So if you're shooting and it's about to go wide and it hits off somebody and goes in,
Correct.
You don't get that goal. But if you're shooting and if that person wouldn't have been there, would have went in and it hit off him and still went in, you get that goal.
Yep.
Which is tough. And how many coaches are going to look at that or people keeping stats and say, oh, he kicked it. Was it going to go wide? We can't give him the goal. Like, usually not.
Right.
So some of these players get some goals that maybe they didn't deserve, but everybody gets that. So if everybody's getting the same thing, it's not, detracting from the game. How about assists? Chris, can you tell us a little bit about assists?
No.
Okay, Dan, can you tell us a little bit about assists?
I don't know if it's much easier with like basketball where there's like a certain time frame, but it's a pass leading directly to a goal. There's no second assist. It's a pass directly to the chance on goal.
Yeah, so there is a misconception that if I pass to you, Dan, and you just keep it and you dribble, eventually scoring, I get the assist. Not necessarily the case in organized, like higher level soccer.
Right.
But
it's the chance. It's like the continuation of the play.
Yes.
Gives you the assist.
So if I pass it to you and you are like right there and within, let's say 5 seconds, you score, that's the assist. I would like to know, I don't actually know the answer to this. is like if a defender goes to clear the ball and it just so happens to like two defenders decide they're not going to go after it because they think the other one's going to go after it and one of your players gets it and scores, that's not an assist.
Did it come directly from the person?
Yeah, see that's the craziness. Like you're the last person to touch it, you're the last person to pass it. Did you intend on passing it? No, you just cleared it and this person ran over to it.
I think it's just a continuation of the play.
All right. So let's say that that's your assist in our book, which our book is for sale nowhere. Saves, Chris, you're the man on this. Explain what a save is.
To me, it's just it's denying a goal scoring opportunity.
Okay, so if it hits the post, is it a save?
No.
If it like gently rolls to you, is it a save?
No.
Unless like you're standing on the goal line and it would have went in.
If it's an actual shot, it might not be the hardest of shots, but
Mhm.
I mean, it has to have some velocity to it
Yeah.
to be counted.
So you can't just be like someone crossed the ball and you grabbed it. That's not a save. That's not a ball that was going into the net. I think of all the stats that we keep, this is the one that gets like, oh, they touched the ball? Give them a save. Who cares?
It's actually a slow roller to the goalie is considered a save if it was on target. It is any ball shot on goal
That would normally have gone in?
that would have gone in if the goalie did not save it.
Okay, so that's where we're at.
I mean, if you want to go by textbook, yeah.
So let's start with saves when we talk about this. Chris, we'll start with you on the girls' side. Who has the most saves in a game?
That was from Brianna Kurd from Ursuline in 2008 with 46.
Jeez. 46 saves. 46. What's the boys and who is it?
It's Brett Ford from Matthews from 2006. He had 45.
So 45. So that means that 45 times they would have had 45 goals if he wasn't in net. Again, these were probably very good players. I don't want to detract from any of them, but that stat line seems ridiculous. No?
Without being there, it does. And the most shots
Yes.
I've seen is like 20, 30 maybe.
Yeah, and I remember I coached a kid. He had 24 saves, and he was standing on his head. We lost probably 7-0, but he saved 24 legit shots on film. So and that was like unbelievable. I thought to myself, there's no one that could ever have any more saves in a game.
Yeah, and we're not saying like Brett Ford and the girl who has the girl saves. We're not saying it's wrong. It sounds so ridiculous that you were able to get that many saves. Like when we talk about Mike Pepe,
Yeah.
3 goals in a minute and 15 seconds.
Yeah.
You're trying to figure out the math on how that works, but it happened.
Correct.
Not saying this didn't happen. It's just crazy. I wonder how.
Well, I wonder what the scores were on their games.
Yeah. I would like to see like the shot chart too.
Yeah. Like where they just
Imagine it'd just be a solid box around 18 of marks where they came from.
It's just red. Just one giant red box.
All right, so she has the lead. We do have a top 5. If you want to go take a look at steelvalleysoccer.com. Go to record books. You might have to scroll down a little bit and take a look at what we have set up. Now, we don't have all of them. We've got a lot of holes in our record book, and hopefully people who are listening to this will come forward and say, no, do you remember I mentioned this to somebody and they said that there was a girl from Boardman who might have had 100 goals in her career, and we have no mention of her. So if anybody knows somebody who should be on this list, email us, let us know. But how about saves in a career? I'm sure it's both the same people, because if you're saving that much in a game, you're going to have a career.
Well, back it up to season.
My mistake.
And it is the same Brianna Kurd, 2008 Ursuline, with 409 in her season,
So I am getting out the calculator.
which is actually the top record for the state as well.
So that's saying,
What year was that?
2008,
let's say she played 17 games,
a normal season. Yeah.
a normal season.
16. Oh, 17.
16
You're right.
plus the one.
Plus one, yep.
That's 24 saves a game average.
Just, limited. Not everything's in on OSSCA, but the 2008 Ursuline girls team was 2-9. Their goals for in their games that they played, their 11 games, it's 6 goals for, 49 goals against. They did take a 8-0 loss to Mooney, a 9-0 loss to Canfield, but most of them are just 5 or under.
So in those games, if she had 24 saves in those games, they scored 8, she saved 24.
But times that by 2, that's her record.
Yeah, dude, I don't know if that. I'm calling bull. But on the same side, with what does the season have for Ford? From
395. He has number 1 and number 2. 395 is his top.
right, so 395. Again, if you're making that many saves, you're only playing in one playoff game. Divided by 17, that's 23 saves a game. So in our experience, has anyone ever seen someone make more than that? Like Michael Daly had a heck of a year this past year. I don't think he had more than 10 saves a game. Well, he also had a good team.
It's hard to say without being there. I mean, your knee-jerk instinct is to say that there was probably inflated a little bit. Probably ones that shouldn't have counted were put on there, but
Yeah, 2006, Matthews boys were 4-11-2. They had 42 goals against, 20 goals for.
So 42 goals,
Biggest loss was the Crestview 7-0.
which makes sense.
Everything else is close.
Let's go to assists. Assists again, a little bit of inflation on it, I'm sure. Who do we have, Chris, as the number 1?
number 1 for assists in a game is Lexi Herman from Mooney in 2014 with 6.
I have personally, well, I can't say assist-wise. I've seen 3 assists. I've seen 4 assists. I've never seen more in person.
I've seen 4.
Okay. So that seems about right. How many for boy side?
That'd be Max Brugler from Champion 2004. He had 7 in a game.
Okay. And that's one of those stats, too, where if you're winning a game 14-0, you probably keep the guy who's passing the others who might not have gotten a goal. So he might have played the whole game, even though it was out of control.
Willing to bet Champion played Matthews.
That's a very good point. How about career? Or I'm sorry, I skipped season.
Season again is Lexi Herman, 2014 Mooney with 39.
So 39. What year?
2014.
So let's say at worst 17 games. That's over 2 assists a game. That's pretty. I mean,
It's reasonable.
yeah.
Very reasonable.
I mean, the Herman family is very good at soccer.
Related?
I'm assuming.
Right, that's a distance away, but
Yeah.
he
But
graduated in 05 or 06.
So yeah, it's not too far off. Might be a cousin. Who knows? How about career? Or I'm sorry, boys side season.
In a season, that would be Nick Novak from Crestview 2021 with 44.
Phew, yeah.
And that was a machine.
And I bet you, and we saw them. I've seen him even just this past year get 3 assists in a game against a very good champion team.
And there's 2 players from that team who are on the top 5 list.
Yeah. They were a juggernaut.
Yeah, Mitchell Auer with 27.
How about career? Do we have it? Because these are tougher to get. Career stats are very, very tough to get. Girls side.
Girls is actually from our Mount Rushmore.
Okay.
Ashley Cuba from Mooney, 05, 06, with 65.
65. That, and playing a tough schedule, having the top list. I have a feeling that there's probably someone listening right now who's like, no, I guarantee someone has it better. Yeah, go ahead, do that research. Let us know. Email it to us. We'll appreciate all the help we can get in that department. Boys sides.
It'd be Nick Novak from Crestview 2019, 2022. He had 113 in his career.
Is he the most prolific offensive player we've ever had? I mean, Kiki Willis isn't on that list, and he's
on the list. He has 55.
I sit mistaken. So yeah, so between the two of them, they're the 2 most prolific offensive powers that we've ever had here. Okay.
Yeah. Actually, if you go by just stats added together, Novak does have Kiki beat.
Yeah. But the argument will be made, I'm sure.
Who they play.
Who do they play?
Yeah.
Let's go goals. Goals is the one where I bet you there's no inflation, only maybe a own goal that couldn't have been called maybe once or twice. Girls side, who has it for a game?
Girls side games we do not have
Oh, okay.
any listed.
So none must have been in the top 10 in the state because that's the kind of what we went off of originally for it. How about boys side?
Boys side, this is interesting. It's
Gavin Ainsley from Maplewood in 2021 scored 12 goals in one game and a 16-0 win. Now, anybody who reads that will read this way. Why was he still in the game when it was 10-0?
right. At 10-0 to me is anything past that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I always call the dogs off at 8-0. That was always
Well, that's the rule amongst coaches. Is
when you put like your
once you
younger
get
players in
to 8-0,
let
your
maybe
younger
score 2
kids
goals.
might be able to score some goals, so you want to give them that leeway to get to maybe 10, 11 if they
Right.
have to. But you don't want to. Double digits is you kind of want to stay away from that.
Right.
Dan, for the girls. Chris, for the girls.
Go ahead, Dan, for the girls. For the girls, it's Kylie Kosek
Mm-hmm.
from Springfield. In 2019, she had 65.
She's one that probably could have been on that Mount Rushmore. It's just that we got to see how her college career and pro career goes because she's capable of a lot. She had the most goals in a season, the most goals in a career. She had a couple years of being up there, right? She's number 3 on the list too.
Yep, she's number 3 at 57 for in a season, and then number 1 for career with 188.
All right, so 188. That's impressive for. Let's do some math here. Get the old handy dandy calculator out.
That's a calculator noise if I ever heard one.
Yeah, right. That's an average of 47 goals a year. Jeez.
Wow.
God. Man, like I would have to imagine, because I think her dad was the coach. I'd have to imagine his game plan was just the same as kicking and screaming with Will Ferrell.
Give it to the Italians.
That's got to be it, because I did see her play in action. I saw her play down at Brookfield, and it wasn't necessarily that way. It wasn't just like everything has to go to her. She just happened to be a ball hawk and be up in the position to where she could score. I think she had a hat trick that game. On the boys' side,
I beat Thomas Rink from Maplewood in 2017. He had 61.
I remember him, and I remember going to the senior all-star game and thinking, is this kid going to be for real, or is it because, the schedule plays? No, he came on. He did really well.
Like 4 goals in that game.
Yeah. I was at Hubbard. I remember going to see, I think Blake Baker was in
That's
that game.
exactly. Yeah.
So how about career? We have 188 on the girls' side. How about on boys?
That'd be Kiki Willis, 172.
172. Are you sure?
My eyes aren't failing me. So yeah.
How many
my-
does
Novak has 156. Rink has 165.
Okay. Well, hey, Kiki Willis was number 1. Michael Pepe was number 1 on that list at one point. But I think Kiki Willis is number 4 all time. He was 176?
172.
And I know their schedule.
Top of the line.
To score in those games had to be. He was really good.
He was.
He was really good.
There's been a lot of good players on the boys' side. You talk to anybody, it's generally agreed upon he's the best player that's came out of this area.
Yeah. Yes. We do have a lot of good players, but he is number 1.
Pitchmen is brought to you by
North Jackson Hydraulics. North Jackson Hydraulics does industrial and commercial repair of hydraulic pumps, cylinders, and hoses. Thank you so much for them for what they do. All right, I'm here with Coach Phil Simone from the girls team at Canfield. Phil, how you doing today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. We were just talking about your tenure at Canfield. You've been with the girls program since 2008. That seems
Correct.
impressive. How do you stay there that long?
I still enjoy doing it. It's a passion. So as long as I've got good support, both from the school, the parental side, at home, and I'm having fun, then I think that's a plus to continuing on doing it.
So I did a little research before I called, and I noticed that you've, as the girls coach, have only had one season that wasn't double-digit wins. Do you know which season it was?
You're doing your homework. It was pretty. I believe it was pretty early. I don't know for sure what year. But it was pretty early in the girls.
2011, and
Okay.
you went 9-8-3, but you won the district title.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
impressive because you came in as the girls coach and one season that wasn't double-digit wins. You've had 15, 16, even 17 wins in a season, and it's every single year. How do you run your practices to keep them playing at such a high level?
I mean, I was just having this talk with our new assistant the other day, Mark, that came with us from Boardman, and a lot of people ask, what's your secret? And a lot of the work happened a long time ago when we started really working with the feeder system and I put in a lot of hours with our U10s, 12s, even 14s. At one point there, we basically ran it like an actual premier club, and we're traveling to major tournaments and that. So we developed a culture early. And then now, honestly, the system is in place. When new players come in, our practices, the older girls just kind of roll, and they just kind of emulate the older girls, and it just flows. We are competitive at practice. We try and run at a high pace. We're on them some, but a lot of them are relaxed. We don't do anything special. I mean, it's just a lot of small-sided, a lot of games, just getting them playing in the atmosphere and getting a lot of touches.
Now, some inside questions here. What is if you had to pick a formation, I know you always pick your formation based off the talent you have, but if you had to go to, not looking at any talent, you're like, this is the formation that I like to run the best, what would it be?
I mean, most of the coaches in the area can tell you that Canfield more than likely is going to run a 4-3-3.
Okay.
So it tweaks occasionally depending on the year. We tweaked it a little bit more last year than most, but we've pretty much over the years stuck pretty religiously with the 4-3-3.
Okay. I mean, if it's not broke, don't fix it, right?
Yep.
Next question. If you, when you look at your best players, because I know you have a lot, Dan Conley, who does this with me, he said, you have a bunch of center mids that you put everywhere. So everyone has control of the ball. Everyone has skill with their feet. If you had to choose, would you push those talented players more towards the defensive side or more towards the offensive side? If you had to choose, I know you haven't had to choose lately.
I mean, I'm going to give away all my secrets.
Well,
here,
you don't
Jim.
have to. You don't have to answer that.
No. I mean, most people have played us know that we like to play on the offensive side more so than the defensive side. And as a spectator of the game, everybody wants to see a little bit more of an attack-minded game. It depends on the opponent we're playing, but for the most part, the older I've gotten, the more experienced coach I've gotten, I've realized, and my style has turned a little bit more into, I think a better defense is keeping the ball in the attacking third of the field.
Yes.
The fewer opportunities you give the opposing team to have a scoring opportunity, the better. So I would probably, depending on how strong or weak your defense is, push them forward more.
That's where Dan and I differ wildly on this. I always say, I want the offensive side. If you can score goals, you're in every game. He always says, if your defense never lets in a goal, you'll never lose a game. But in high school, a goal might go in, come the guys offsides, they don't see it, or hits off a defender and goes in, and all of a sudden you're down one and you're not able to score. It kind of puts you out. But if you look at all the teams that have success, all of your teams and all the teams on the boys' side that have one district, one state, they are very strong defensively first.
Correct. And that's something that we do stress too.
Well, yeah.
The zero on the scoreboard for us is an important thing. We talk about pregame, halftime, if that zero still there. We talk about, really caring about that zero and defending. So, I mean, we just like to defend a little bit higher up the field most times.
Well, you had 9 shutouts last year, so that was a pretty good thing. And let's go there. Let's talk a little bit about last season. You guys did really well, went to the regional final, lost 2-0 to a very strong Bay team. I know you have a lot of these players coming back this year. Do you think you have something extra special than what you normally do? Or is it just like, hey, this is business as usual, the Canfield way?
I mean, we've always got high expectations just because of the tradition that we've had. So, the girls all know the expectations, and they've set their goals already in our goal setting meetings. But that's a hard one to answer because, we know we have some good players coming back, but in my past years, I know we've had good players coming back, and you just never know what's going to happen between injuries and luck and everything else. So can we have a great year next year? Absolutely. Will we? Time will tell. So, I mean, like I said, the expectations are high, but, and we do have a great returning nucleus coming back. And so we'll see what the season brings us.
Well, we put last year's team as one of the best teams ever in the history of our area.
Man, you got all my girls that have heard that going, Simone, who is better, us or them? Us or them? Like,
you beat me
I'm
to
staying
it.
out of that.
All right, you'll stay out of that. That's a smart decision. In a couple years, maybe I can ask you that one again, and you'll have a response. How about?
I mean, it's hard. It's hard to compare. I mean, it really is. This past year's team's strengths or other teams' weaknesses and vice versa. So, and some of those past years too, we played a little bit tougher out of the area schedule than we played last year. So it's hard to compare.
Yeah. Well, last year you had Kenston, Marlington. I think that's the two from the regular season. And then you had Ravenna, Jefferson, Streetsboro, Kenston again, beating West Branch after they kind of snuck one in on you at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, we took some lumps at the beginning of the year. We were getting scored on almost every game. We were young. We graduated quite a few key players the year before. We knew we were young, but we knew we had some ability. So that's the one thing that last year's team did more than any of the previous teams I've coached. They worked so hard, got along so well, and improved as a team a ton throughout the season, and that's why they got to where they were, even with the youth that we had.
Yeah, you guys had a very nice season. But individually, let's take the team, let's take current players out of the situation because you don't want to say anything that would inflate their heads too much. But is there anyone in the past, and let's say even boys team too, some of the players that you coached that you were like, this kid was a special talent? Anyone that comes to mind?
I mean, I've got a couple right now. I won't say any names right now for the current team, just because, like I said, we don't want to. But on the girls' side, past years, the one year I had a trio of players that was ridiculous up front. I mean, we went in that 4-3-3. We had the two Mancini sisters, Anita and Sophia, and Bailey Fisher.
I was just noticing that today.
The speed between the three was ridiculous. And I believe Sophia and Bailey's senior year, each one of them had 17 goals that year. So
I know there's so many players you've had. Just to keep track of the ones you have right now is probably tough. Now that 2016 team was 16-1-1. Went undefeated during the regular season and lost in the district semis in Division I to Hoover. But yeah, Anita Mancini, 35 goals. I know you had the Stein sisters who are still playing in college. You have 5 players from your program that are currently on a college roster. That's impressive.
Yeah, that's something we're proud of. And that's something we talk to the girls. We talk about their aspirations and seeing, if they want to play in college. Most of that stuff these days in soccer is done at the club level. But I talk to them too about it. Most of the Division 2-3 coaches within an hour and a half, I know pretty well since I've been around a couple years. So, if there's any interest there, we can potentially get them there. But it is something we talk about with them. I start talking to them about that around their sophomore year because club season, if you want to go D1, club season of your sophomore year, spring of your sophomore year is a big year for that, so you can get on the radar, and then then in June they can start contacting you. So we are proud of that. We've got we don't have anybody going to play this year that graduated, but then this upcoming class of seniors, Macy's already committed. Vivian, Nora, and Hannah Wahib are looking. They're talking to some coaches. They've done some visits already. So like I said, it is something we're proud of. And it's awesome that the younger girls can see that we do have some girls that do go on and play college.
And we've talked about it a little bit ago about your out-of-town schedule that you play. Looking at the 2023 season, the upcoming season, you have a game on October 1st down in Columbus. Tell me a little bit about that.
It's a little something we set up with the crew to get a memorable experience for the girls. You'll be playing in Crew Stadium. Our opponent that we've got is St. Mary's Memorial. They're out of like the Toledo area, up in that area, and they're also a regional finalist. They lost to Copley, I believe 4-1 in the regionals, who eventually went on and won state. So, and I believe they're in about the same situation as us. They only lost a couple players. So that'll be a really good test for us on a out of town, big sites, just kind of an overall great experience.
All right. Well, there's only one last thing I want to ask and talk to you about, and that is, how did Liverpool lose to Bournemouth today? Can you answer that one?
Did you have to bring that up? I only follow a couple teams. I got Liverpool in the EPL, and then I'm a huge Juventus fan, and seasons are not going well because Juve got deducted 15 points because, the Italians do everything crookedly. So, I was talking about that with Mark the other day because Mark's a Man United fan.
Oh, so you had to be giving him the business.
Oh yeah, we were at Open Gym and we were at lifting this past week, and I said, hey, I'm thrilled that Liverpool beat Man U 7-0 last week, but how is that possible to score that many goals on that quality of a team and then turn around and we lose 1-0 to one of the worst teams in the league today?
Yeah.
So I don't know how that happens, honestly.
Well, like we say, anything can happen any given day. It depends on which team of yours shows up, and apparently Liverpool didn't.
Nope.
Well, all right, Coach, thank you for your time, and I'm sure I'll be talking to you throughout the season.
Yep. Hey, thanks again for everything you guys do for soccer in the area. I'm looking forward to talking to you some more.
Chris, anything?
No, just shout out Mac Bids if Mac Discount if you're looking to do a deal.
Yeah, we're starting to set up a legit studio, and Chris is making money moves.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Pitchmen, a Steel Valley Soccer production. Email us at steelvalleysvs@gmail.com to give suggestions, corrections, or any comments you want us to hear. For more information, go to steelvalleysoccer.com.